The stars shone bright outside the windows of Terra Prime Station. The huge metal structure spun slowly in the darkness of space, its lights blinking like small stars themselves. Inside the station, people hurried through the wide hallways, carrying data tablets and speaking in excited voices. Today was different from any other day. Patricia King stood in the main greeting hall, checking her blue suit one last time. Her brown hair was pulled back neatly and her hands shook just a little from excitement. She had waited her whole life for this moment. As Earth's chief ambassador, she would meet the first aliens to ever visit human space. Ambassador King, a young man called out, running toward her with a tablet. The alien ships just came out of light speed. They're huge. Patricia smiled and touched his arm. Thank you, Jim. Remember what we practiced. Stay calm and be polite. This is history being made. Far away from the station, Captain Eric Lawson sat in his commander's chair on the bridge of the USS Defender. The large warship moved through space silently, its engines glowing blue as it patrolled the area. Eric stared at the screen showing the approaching alien fleet. He had never seen ships like these before. Captain, said Commander Lisa Hayes, standing beside him. The alien ships are the size of small cities. Their weapons are clearly visible, sir. Eric nodded slowly. Keep our weapons powered down for now, Lisa. We're here for peace, not war. But be ready for anything. Dr. Stephen Blake sat at his station, surrounded by screens filled with data. He had studied alien life for 20 years, but only through radio signals and old probes. Now he watched real aliens approaching Earth. His heart beat fast with joy. Back on Terra Prime, the alien ships appeared on the large screen in the greeting hall. They looked like metal monsters with sharp edges and glowing red lights. The biggest ship moved forward 10 times the size of Terra Prime itself. They're asking to dock, said a technician at the control panel. Should I let them in? Patricia took a deep breath. Yes, let them dock. This is what we're here for. The alien ship connected to Terra Prime with a loud metal sound that echoed through the station. Patricia walked to the airlock with 10 human guards behind her. They all wore formal clothes, not weapons. This was a meeting of peace, after all. The airlock opened with a hiss of air. Patricia stepped forward with a smile, ready to make history. What came through the door made her smile freeze on her face. The first alien was twice as tall as any human. Its skin looked like dark metal, with sharp spikes growing from its shoulders. 6 eyes glowed red in its face, and its hands ended in claws that looked sharp enough to cut steel. Behind it, more aliens crowded into the hallway, all looking like warriors ready for battle. Welcome to Terra Prime, Patricia said in a clear voice, even though her hands shook now. I am Ambassador Patricia King, representing all of humanity. We are honored to meet you. The lead alien stepped closer, its heavy metal feet making the floor shake. When it spoke, its voice was like rocks being crushed together. I am Overlord Zethkron of the Zenkari Empire. You will submit to our rule. Patricia blinked in surprise. This was not how first contact was supposed to go. I'm sorry, I don't understand. We invited you here for peaceful talks. Zethkron's 6 eyes narrowed. There is nothing to talk about. The Zenkari Empire rules this part of space. Every other species bows to us. You will too. But, Patricia tried to explain, we are a peaceful species. We have our own government, and our own space. We don't want to be part of any empire. Zethkron made a sound that might have been laughter. Behind him, the other Zenkari made clicking noises with their teeth. What you want does not matter, the Overlord said. You will submit or you will die. To show what he meant, Zethkron turned to one of his own people. He grabbed the smaller alien by the neck and lifted it off the ground. The smaller Zenkari made choking sounds, its eyes wide with fear. This one questioned my orders yesterday, Zethkron explained to Patricia. Now I show you what happens to those who do not obey. With one powerful squeeze, Zethkron crushed the alien's neck. The body fell to the floor with a thud. Purple blood spread across the metal floor of the station. Patricia stared at the dead alien in shock. The human guards behind her took a step back, their faces pale with horror. This was not peace. This was murder. Now you understand, Zethkron said, reaching out a clawed hand toward Patricia. Submit to the Empire, or your species faces the same fate. Patricia King looked up at the giant alien. Her fear changed to something else, anger. She thought of her children at home, of all the humans who counted on her to protect them. She thought of the dead alien on the floor, killed just to make a point. I understand, Patricia said, her voice steady now. I understand perfectly. We don't negotiate with killers. Zethkron's eyes widened in surprise. In all his years of conquest, no one had ever spoken to him like this. What did you say? You heard me, Patricia continued. Earth has a simple rule that we all follow. We don't negotiate with killers, with monsters, with anyone who murders the innocent. You just killed your own person to scare us. That tells me everything I need to know about your empire. You dare refuse us? Zethkron roared, stepping closer to Patricia, his hand raised to strike. Yes, Patricia said firmly. I dare. Alarms began to ring throughout Terra Prime Station. Security sensors had detected weapon charges building up on the Zenkari ships. The peaceful meeting had turned into a threat. Captain, Lawson's voice came over the station speakers. Ambassador King, please come to the bridge immediately. We're detecting hostile actions from the alien fleet. Patricia never took her eyes off Zethkron. Thank you, Captain. I'll be right there. She turned to the human guards. Please escort these visitors back to their ship. Tell Captain Lawson to prepare for defensive action. You will pay for this insult, Zethkron screamed as security guards moved forward. The other Zenkari raised their weapons, but Patricia was already walking away. We already have, she called back. By wasting our time on a killer. Minutes later, Patricia reached the bridge of the USS Defender. Captain Lawson stood ready at the center, watching the alien ships on the main screen. Report, Patricia ordered. All Zenkari ships are charging weapons, Lisa Hayes reported. They're preparing to attack the station. Evacuate all civilians from Terra Prime, Captain Lawson ordered. All personnel to escape pods. Defender will hold them off. Sir, Dr. Blake called out from his station. I've analyzed their weapon signatures. They're using plasma-based systems, but our shields should hold for a while. The first blast from the Zenkari ships lit up space like a new sun. The shields of Terra Prime flickered but held strong. The USS Defender and 3 other human warships moved into position between the station and the alien fleet. This is Captain Lawson to all human ships, Eric announced over the radio. Weapons free. Defend Terra Prime at all costs. The Battle of Terra Prime had begun. Human ships moved like dancers in space, dodging the heavy alien fire. The USS Defender fired back with precision, its weapons targeting the weak points Dr. Blake had identified. The humans might be outnumbered, but they were not outmatched. They're not expecting us to fight back effectively, Lisa noted, watching the battle unfold. They're used to easy victories. Patricia watched from the captain's chair as her people defended their home. She felt no regret for her words to Zethkron. Sometimes peace comes through strength, and humanity would show these killers what strength really meant. The battle continued as stars blazed around them, marking the beginning of a new chapter in human history. No longer would they be alone in the universe, but more importantly, they had proven they would never bow to tyrants. The word spread through the galaxy faster than light travel. Humans don't negotiate with killers, and they never would. Space exploded with light and fire as human ships fought against the Zenkari fleet. The USS Defender moved like a shark through dark water, dodging plasma blasts that would destroy a normal ship instantly. Captain Eric Lawson gripped his chair as the ship shook under enemy fire. Shields at 70%, Commander Lisa Hayes shouted over the sound of warning alarms. Direct hit to our port side. Return fire on the big one, Eric ordered. Target their weapon ports. Lieutenant Peter Walsh's hands flew over his controls. The Defender's railguns fired with deadly accuracy. Magnetic coils launched metal slugs at incredible speeds, punching through the alien ship's shields. Explosions bloomed across the Zenkari vessel's hull. Got them, Peter shouted with joy. Their forward weapons are down. Dr. Stephen Blake worked frantically at his science station, sweat dripping down his face. Numbers and alien symbols flashed across his screens as he studied the enemy ships during the battle. Captain, Stephen called out, I found something important. Their ships use neural networks to control everything. It's like their brains are connected to their ships. What does that mean for us? Eric asked, ducking as another blast shook the bridge. If we create strong electromagnetic pulses, we can confuse their systems, Stephen explained quickly. It will be like giving them a headache. Lisa turned from her station. 3 Zenkari ships are targeting Terra Prime directly. Civilians are still evacuating. All ships, Formation Delta 2, Eric commanded over the radio. Protect the station, at all costs. The human warships moved in perfect formation, creating a shield of metal and energy between Terra Prime and the alien attackers. The USS Swift and USS Guardian joined Defender in blocking the enemy advance. On Terra Prime Station, Ambassador Patricia King worked alongside station crew to help civilians reach escape pods. Children cried as families were loaded into small rescue ships. The station shook with each enemy blast. Hurry, Patricia urged, guiding an elderly man into a pod. You'll be safe soon. The old man grabbed her hand. What about you, Ambassador? You should leave too. Patricia smiled sadly. Someone needs to coordinate the evacuation. Don't worry about me. Back in space, the battle continued with fierce intensity. Chief Engineer Alex Kumar ran through the Defender's corridors, fixing damage as quickly as it happened. Sparks flew from broken panels and warning lights flashed red. Reroute power from non-essential systems, Alex ordered his team. I need more power to shields and weapons. The human ships used tactics the Zenkari had never seen before. They performed micro-jumps, disappearing and reappearing behind enemy vessels. The surprised aliens struggled to respond to these fast maneuvers. Weapons locked on target 3, Peter announced. Firing all torpedoes. Missiles streaked through space, their warheads packed with explosives designed to penetrate alien shields. 2 Zenkari destroyers burst into flames as the torpedoes hit their engines. On the Zenkari flagship, Zethkron roared with rage. Purple, blood dripped from cuts where metal fragments had hit him during the humans' attacks. This is impossible, he screamed at his officers. How do these primitives fight so well? They adapt quickly, Overlord, a trembling officer reported. Our usual tactics do not work against them. Then we use overwhelming force, Zethkron commanded. Concentrate all fire on their command ship. 5 massive Zenkari battleships turned, together, pointing their main guns at the USS Defender. Energy built up in their weapon systems glowing brighter than stars. Captain, Lisa warned, they're targeting us with everything they have. On Terra Prime, the station's hidden defenses finally activated. Secret compartments opened in the rotating sections, revealing powerful railgun platforms that had been hidden since the station's construction. Humanity had prepared for war even while hoping for peace. The station's guns fired with incredible force, their magnetic accelerators launching projectiles at near light speed. The surprise attack caught 3 Zenkari ships completely off guard. 1 destroyer exploded immediately, its antimatter core going critical. Defense platforms online, the station's AI announced. Engaging hostile targets. Dr. Blake completed his work on the electromagnetic pulse weapon. Captain, I've programmed the EMP generator. We can disrupt their neural network, but I need us to get close. Lisa, take us in, Eric commanded. Full speed ahead. The USS Defender accelerated directly toward the Zenkari flagship. Enemy fire filled the space around them, but human shields held firm. The distance closed rapidly as both ships rushed toward each other. At 5 kilometers, the Defender fired its secret weapon. A wave of electromagnetic energy washed over the Zenkari flagship. The alien ship's lights flickered and its engines sputtered. Warriors aboard the ship staggered as their neural connection to the vessel was disrupted. It's working, Stephen shouted. Their systems are failing. The USS Guardian and USS Swift followed Defender's lead, using their own EMP weapons on nearby enemy ships. The Zenkari fleet, which had seemed so powerful moments before, now struggled to maintain basic control of their vessels. Zethkron felt pain shoot through his head as the neural connection failed. His officers stumbled and fell around him. Through the static-filled screens, he saw human ships closing in for the kill. Shields failing, a Zenkari lieutenant reported. Weapon systems offline. Navigate us out, Zethkron ordered. Emergency retreat. Human ships pressed their advantage. The USS Defender came alongside the enemy flagship, its railguns firing at point-blank range. The Zenkari ship's armor cracked and broke apart under the assault. On the communication channels, Admiral Catherine Fox's voice came through from deep space. All stations, this is Fleet Command. I'm sending reinforcements. Hold your positions until backup arrives. About time, Lisa muttered, watching as 5 more human destroyers dropped, out of light speed at the edge of the battle. But the new arrival of human ships wasn't needed. The Zenkari fleet was already in full retreat. Half their ships were destroyed or badly damaged. Their mighty flagship, once so threatening, now limped away with engines failing and shields down. The human ships could have pursued and destroyed the fleeing aliens. But Captain Lawson received different orders. Admiral Fox to all commanders, the message came. Let them go. They'll spread word of what happened here. Sometimes living enemies spread better warnings than dead ones. As the last Zenkari ship disappeared into light speed, the battle ended as suddenly as it had begun. Terra Prime Station still stood, damaged but intact. Human ships regrouped around it, their weapons cooling in the vacuum of space. Patricia, King finally reached the bridge of her rescue ship, exhausted but alive. She watched the aftermath of the battle on the view screen. Debris from alien ships floated among the stars, a graveyard of Zenkari pride. Ambassador King, the ship's captain said gently, you did good back there, standing up to them like that. Patricia shook her head. I didn't do anything but tell the truth. We don't negotiate with killers. Our people did the real work today. The human fleet gathered for damage reports. 3 ships severely damaged, but all would survive. 52 brave souls lost in the defense of Terra Prime. A high price, but far lower than surrender would have cost. As the sun rose on Earth far below, its light glinting off the battle-scared human ships, humanity had learned its first major lesson about the wider galaxy. They were not alone, but they would never be victims. The Zenkari had expected easy prey and found warriors instead. News of the battle spread quickly through human space. Other colonies prepared their defenses. Factories switched to war production. Humanity's peaceful era was over, but they had shown they could fight when necessary. Dr. Blake compiled his research on Zenkari technology, already developing better weapons based on what he'd learned. Chief Engineer Kumar drew up plans for stronger shields and armor. The humans would not rest until they were ready for whatever came next. As the USS Defender docked with Terra Prime for repairs, Captain Lawson received a private message from Admiral Fox. Prepare for full mobilization. This was just their scouting party. The real war is coming. The Battle of Terra Prime had ended in human victory, but in the vast darkness of space, the Zenkari Empire had 10,000 ships waiting for war, and they would not underestimate humanity again. The massive black pyramid that served as the heart of the Zenkari Empire floated in space above their home world. Inside its dark halls, the Hive Mind Collective waited in their council chamber. 5 ancient aliens sat on thrones of bone and metal, their skin dried and cracked from centuries of life. Council Elder Vorthak, the oldest of them all, drummed his claws on the armrest of his throne. His 6 eyes glowed dull red as he waited for the survivors of the Terra Prime battle to arrive. The Empire had not lost a fight in 500 years. This news would not please him. They are here, announced a junior officer, bowing deeply at the entrance to the chamber. Send them in, growled another council member. Let us hear how a single human station defeated our mighty fleet. Overlord Zethkron limped into the chamber, his armor cracked and bleeding. Behind him, 3 ship captains followed with their heads lowered in shame. The smell of fear filled the air as they approached the collective. Overlord Zethkron, Vorthak spoke in a voice like grinding stone. Explain how you failed to conquer a primitive species that has barely left their home star system. Zethkron tried to stand tall despite his injuries. The humans, they are not what we expected, Elder Vorthak. They fight with strange tactics. Their ships disappear and reappear behind ours. They use weapons that attack our neural networks. Excuses, another council member hissed. We have conquered thousands of species. None have resisted our might. With respect, honored ones, Zethkron continued carefully, these humans are different. They do not fear death as others do. When threatened, they become more dangerous, not less. Vorthak leaned forward on his throne. Are you saying that these pink creatures are stronger than the Zenkari Empire? No, Elder, but they are clever, and they do not submit to fear. The council chamber fell silent for a moment. Then, motion at the back of the room caught their attention. A small blue-skinned alien stepped forward. This was Earl 10, ambassador from the Drex people, one of many species conquered by the Zenkari centuries ago. If I may speak, Earlton said in a trembling voice, I have heard of species like these humans before. On my homeworld, we called them Death World dwellers. They come from planets so violent that only the strongest survive. Silence, slave. Zethkron snapped. What do you know of war? But Elder Vorthak raised a clawed hand. Let him speak. What do you know of these Death World species? Earlton swallowed hard. My people once traded with a race called the Borkan. They attacked a Death World species called the Tulmari. The Borkan had a fleet of 5,000 ships. Within 2 years, the Borkan no longer existed as a civilization. The Tulmari hunted every last one of them. The council members shifted uncomfortably on their thrones. This was not the kind of story they wanted to hear. The humans, Earl-10 continued. I studied their planet during our first contact attempts. They come from a world where weather systems can destroy cities in hours, where the ground itself splits and swallows entire mountains, where life fights for every moment of existence. Such creatures learn to adapt or die. General Kethmar, the Supreme Military Commander, slammed his fist on the council table. Enough of this fear talk. The Empire has never lost a war. We will simply send more ships. How many more? Asked Elder Vorthak. We prepare our full armada, Kethmar announced, with pride. 10,000 ships, every vessel we have, equipped with our strongest weapons. The humans will see true power. And if we fail again? Earlton dared to ask. The room grew cold at his question. Vorthak's eyes blazed brighter. We cannot fail. The Zenkari Empire rules through fear. If word spreads that we were stopped by a new species, our other subject races might rebel. The humans must be destroyed completely. But Elder, Captain Thexnar, one of the surviving ship commanders, spoke up hesitantly. Their weapons, they seem designed specifically to fight us. How could they know our weaknesses so quickly? The council members looked at each other with concern. This was a good question, one they had no answer for. It does not matter, Vorthak decided. Begin preparing the armada. Every ship we have will join this campaign. We will surround their home system and crush them from all sides. They cannot fight what they cannot see coming. As the meeting continued, other conquered species watched from the shadows of the pyramid. News of the human resistance spread quickly among them. In hushed whispers, they shared stories of the battle at Terra Prime. For the first time in centuries, they felt something they had forgotten. Hope. A group of Krill traders met in secret that night. Their species had served the Zenkari for 200 years, maintaining their communication networks across the Empire. Did you hear? One Krill whispered to his companions. The humans destroyed 40 Zenkari warships, with only 4 of their own. And they refused to negotiate, another added. The Overlord tried to scare them by killing his own aide, and they just walked away. Brave or foolish? Asked a third. Perhaps both, the first Krill replied. But brave or foolish, they fight. When was the last time anyone fought the Empire? Slowly, quietly, subject species throughout the Zenkari Empire began making small changes. Communication with human space routes was quietly improved by the Krill. Peltar merchants began adjusting their trade routes, positioning themselves to move away from battles that might come. The Venn Federation, while officially neutral, began sharing old star maps with corporate contacts who had connections to Earth Trade Commission. Back on the pyramid, General Kethmar reviewed battle plans for the coming invasion. Massive screens showed the layout of human space with their colonies marked in red. "We will attack from 3 directions," he explained to his officers. "Alpha Fleet comes from the galactic north, Beta from spinward, Gamma from trailing. Each fleet will have over 3,000 ships. The humans cannot defend against such numbers." One young officer raised a claw hesitantly. "General, may I speak freely?" "Speak." "Sir, if the humans already know how to disrupt our neural networks, what happens when all our ships are affected at once?" Kethmar's eyes narrowed. "You think too much like prey, young one. Fear is what we create in others, not what we feel ourselves. We are predators. The humans will learn to fear us." But even as he spoke confidently, Kethmar wondered, how had these newcomers fought so well? Even experienced races took years to learn Zenkari weaknesses, yet the humans had adapted in a single battle. That night, as the twin moons rose over the Zenkari homeworld, Elder Vorthak stood alone in his private chamber. He was old enough to remember the great wars of expansion. He had seen species that fought bravely before being crushed. But something about the human resistance troubled him as the diplomatic officer's words echoed in his ancient mind. "We don't negotiate with killers." Most species begged for mercy. Some fought, but none had ever refused to negotiate completely. What manner of beings had they encountered? A message crystal arrived from the intelligence division. Vorthak touched it with a claw, and images appeared in the air before him. Human faces looked back at him from thousands of holographic files. Not warriors, but teachers, scientists, artists, children. Yet all of them stood ready to defend their homes. "What have we awakened?" he whispered to himself. Outside the pyramid, the Zenkari ships prepared for war. Engineers checked weapon systems and loaded ammunition. Battle commanders studied human tactics and developed new strategies. Throughout the Empire, subject species watched carefully, some with hidden joy in their hearts. The war wheels of the Zenkari Empire turned slowly but surely. 10,000 ships would soon head toward Earth. The humans had won one battle, but many more would come. Yet for the first time in centuries, the outcome was not certain. The galaxy held its breath and waited to see what would come of this clash between Empire and Defenders. Deep within the pyramid's databanks, an old recording played on automatic repeat. It was Ambassador Patricia King's final broadcast before the battle. "Let this transmission serve as a warning to all who might threaten Earth or humanity. We seek peace, but we will defend ourselves absolutely. We don't negotiate with killers." The Zenkari Empire had received their warning. Now they would test it with everything they had. And the galaxy would witness what happened when an unstoppable force met an immovable object. On Earth, the halls of the United Nations transformed into a war room within hours of news from Terra Prime. World leaders gathered as emergency protocols activated. The massive screen at the front of the chamber displayed star maps showing Zenkari, space, and the path their forces might take toward Earth. "The Earth Defense Council is now in session," announced President Helen Martinez. "Our first battle has ended, but intelligence reports indicate the Zenkari are preparing a massive armada. We need immediate mobilization." General Rachel Morrison stood and pointed to the holographic display. "Our estimates show they could have up to 10,000 ships ready within months. We need every resource available to prepare our defenses." "What about allies?" asked Prime Minister David Wong from Britain. "Did any other species respond to our warnings?" Ambassador Nathan Cross stepped forward with good news. "Sir, the Peltar Trade Federation has unofficially offered assistance. They've begun routing supply ships through our space. Several other species are watching carefully, though none have openly declared support." The council members exchanged worried looks. Fighting alone against an empire seemed impossible, but they had no choice. Meanwhile, in the shipyards orbiting Mars, construction accelerated to unprecedented speeds. The USS Titan, humanity's first super battleship, took shape as thousands of workers toiled day and night. The massive vessel was 3 times larger than any existing human warship, armed with the latest railguns and plasma cannons. Captain Jennifer Hayes supervised the construction from her temporary office on the station. "We need that ship ready. In 2 months, not 6, she told her chief engineer. "Every day counts now." In the asteroid belt, mining operations expanded dramatically. Teams of miners extracted precious metals needed for ship armor and weapons. The belt's population doubled within weeks as volunteers arrived from Earth colonies. Dr. Stephen Blake worked tirelessly in his new laboratory on the moon. With a team of scientists, he studied captured Zenkari technology from the battle. Their goal: find more weaknesses to exploit. "The neural network is key," Stephen explained to his team. "Every Zenkari ship relies on it. If we can find a way to attack their entire fleet's neural system at once, we might have a chance." Far from Earth, Captain Jack Miller led the destroyer USS Swift Return on dangerous missions into Zenkari space. His crew gathered intelligence on the growing enemy armada. What they discovered was terrifying. "Captain," reported his sensor officer, "I count 3,000 ships so far, with more arriving every day. They're gathering at the Krell Nebula." Jack studied the data with growing concern. "Send this back to Earth Command immediately. They need to know what's coming." During their reconnaissance mission, the Swift Return witnessed the brutality of the Zenkari Empire firsthand. They observed a Zenkari warship attacking a peaceful trading vessel from the Joltari species. The traders had committed no crime except being in the wrong place. "Captain," asked young Lieutenant Maria Santos, "shouldn't we help them?" Jack clenched his fists. "We can't, Maria. Our mission is to gather information. Starting a fight now could doom billions back home." They watched in horror as the Zenkari destroyed the trading ship, leaving no survivors. The incident reminded every crew member why they so fought. Back on Earth, humanity prepared not just for war but for survival. Underground bunkers expanded to hold entire populations. Food supplies were preserved for years-long sieges. Medical facilities were reinforced with lead and concrete against radiation attacks. In a secret facility beneath the Himalayas, humanity's backup plan took shape. If Earth fell, selected DNA samples from every human and Earth species would be launched toward distant stars. Along with historical records and scientific knowledge, humanity would survive somewhere, even if not here. 2 months after the Battle of Terra Prime, unexpected help arrived. A slender spacecraft appeared at the edge of the solar system, broadcasting on human frequencies. "This is Ambassador Velna of the Peltar Trade Federation," came the transmission. "We request permission to dock at Earth with urgent information. Soon." The blue-skinned alien stood before the Earth Defense Council. Her forearms gestured expressively as she spoke. "The Zenkari conquered my people 50 years ago," Velna explained. "We have suffered under their rule since then. Your victory gives us hope. I bring information about their military formations and weapon systems." She produced data crystals containing Peltar observations of Zenkari tactics from hundreds of previous conquests. This information proved invaluable for planning Earth's defense. "Why help us?" President Martinez asked directly. "You risk much." Velna's large eyes seemed to glow with determination. "Because you showed something we forgot how to do. Resist. If you fall, our hope dies with you. Better to fight together than submit separately." The Peltar weren't the only ones watching. The insectoid Krivik hinted at potentially sharing shield technology in exchange for guaranteed trade routes. The aquatic Dormani quietly began sharing ocean mining techniques that could help underwater facilities. Even among neutral species, sympathy grew for the human cause. The Zenkari Empire's cruelty was well known, but none had dared oppose them, until now. In the deep reaches of space, other developments unfolded. The Grell Syndicate, a powerful criminal organization, began sabotaging Zenkari supply lines. While not allies to humanity, they saw opportunity in the Empire's distraction. Dr. Blake made a breakthrough one night, working through fatigue and countless cups of coffee. "The neural network extends through subspace," he exclaimed to his tired team. "If we can generate a subspace pulse at the right frequency, we could disrupt their entire fleet simultaneously." "Can we build such a weapon in time?" asked his assistant. "We have to," Stephen replied, already drawing plans. "Without it, we're just buying time." Construction of the neural disruptor began immediately in secret. The project received humanity's highest priority and classified security level. On Titan, Saturn's largest moon, secret training camps prepared humanity's most elite warriors. Former Special Forces soldiers learned space combat tactics and alien shipboarding procedures. These units would become Earth's last defense if orbital battles were lost. Captain Emily Parker led the most skilled fighter pilots in the solar system through brutal training exercises. "In space, there's no ejecting and waiting for rescue," she reminded her students daily. "Your ship is your life, make every shot count." As Earth prepared, news spread through the galaxy about humanity's defiance. Some species hoped secretly for human victory, tired of the Zenkari's endless expansion. Others feared being caught in the conflict. The war was no longer just about Earth. It had become a symbol of resistance against tyranny. Many oppressed peoples watched carefully, wondering if they too might one day find courage to fight. 3 months after the first contact disaster, Earth announced its formation of the Terran Defense Alliance. While few species openly joined, support networks began forming in shadow. Peltar merchants acted as information couriers. Krevik technology found its way into human hands through independent traders. Dormani scientists shared water-based defense ideas through academic exchanges. General Morrison reviewed final preparations. "We have 50 capital ships, 200 destroyers, and over 500 fighter squadrons. Our ground forces number in the millions, but against 10,000 enemy ships, it won't be easy," Admiral Catherine Fox agreed. "But we have advantages they don't expect. Flexibility, adaptability, and something worth fighting for." In the final days before the expected Zenkari arrival, Earth's major cities held rallies, where millions gathered. No one spoke of surrender. Every speech ended with the same words: "We don't negotiate with killers." As the Zenkari Armada moved closer to human space, an old transmission continued broadcasting on all frequencies, Patricia King's defiant message. It served as both warning and inspiration. Among the stars, 2 philosophies were about to collide. One based on conquest and fear, the other on freedom and resistance. The stage was set for the greatest battle humanity had ever faced, and this time, the entire galaxy would witness whether the human spirit could truly remain unbroken against overwhelming odds. The countdown to war began, measured in days rather than months. Earth did not wait passively. It prepared, it adapted, and it found allies among the stars. The Zenkari Empire would come with 10,000 ships, but humanity would meet them with something far more powerful: the determined will of a free people defending their home. The stars of Haven Point blazed with double light as the binary star system cast its strange glow across space. The human fleet gathered here by choice, using the gravitational well of 2 suns as their battlefield advantage. Admiral Catherine Fox stood on the bridge of the massive battle carrier USS Indomitable, watching 10,000 Zenkari ships emerge from light speed. "They're here," announced Lieutenant Sophie Reed, her hands steady on the sensor controls despite the fear she felt. "The entire Zenkari Armada, sir, just as predicted." Fox nodded calmly. "All ships to battle stations. This is where we make our stand." Aboard the USS Defender, Captain Eric Lawson watched the alien fleet take formation. They filled space like a metal cloud, their ships arranged in perfect military order. The sight would have terrified any normal enemy, but humans had prepared specifically for this moment. "Ready the neural disruptor, Dr. Blake," Eric commanded. Stephen Blake, now part of Defender's crew, activated the strange device he'd helped create. It looked like nothing special, a simple metal sphere covered in cables and computing equipment. But inside, it hummed with power that could change the course of the battle. General Kethmar, commanding the Zenkari Armada from his flagship, smiled with cruel anticipation. Victory seemed certain. How could these primitive beings fight against such numbers? "Open a transmission channel," he ordered. "Let them beg for mercy, one final time." The channel opened. Admiral Fox appeared on the Zenkari screens, standing, tall and proud. "This is Admiral Catherine Fox of the Terran Defense Force," she announced. "You were warned. We don't negotiate with those who murder diplomats. This is your final warning. Turn back or be destroyed." Kethmar laughed, the sound echoing through his command center. "Destroy us? With your handful of ships? Surrender now, and we might keep some of your species alive as slaves." The transmission ended. Fox turned to her crew. "They've made their choice. All ships, execute Battle Plan Omega. Show them what humanity can do." The battle began with a spectacular display of firepower. Zenkari ships unleashed torrents of plasma and laser fire. The human fleet responded with railgun volleys and missile salvos. Space lit up with explosions as shields met weapons in colorful fury. But this time, humans fought differently. They used the binary star's gravity to slingshot around enemy formations. Ships seemed to bend the laws of physics, appearing behind Zenkari vessels using micro-jumps timed to the millisecond. Captain Ryan O'Connor led a squadron of destroyers in a daring maneuver. His ship skimmed the edge of one star's corona, using the intense magnetic field to accelerate beyond normal speeds. They emerged behind a group of Zenkari cruisers, weapons blazing. "Torpedo spread, full burn," Ryan ordered. "Target their command ships." The destroyers fired their entire payload. Enhanced warheads designed by Dr. Blake's team punched through Zenkari shields with deadly efficiency. 5 enemy command vessels exploded within seconds. Aboard the Defender, the countdown for the neural disruptor reached its final moments. 30 seconds to activation, Stephen announced, sweat beading on his forehead. "The device will affect all ships within 1 light-hour radius." "Fire when ready," Eric commanded. The neural disruptor activated with a pulse of energy that spread like a wave through space. Unlike normal weapons, this one couldn't be seen, only felt by those whose nervous systems connected to their ships. Across the Zenkari fleet, warriors screamed in pain as the neural link overloaded. Ship systems failed, engines sputtered, weapons misfired. The perfect formation of the armada broke apart as vessels lost coordination. "It's working!" Lisa Hayes shouted from her station. "Their fleet is in disarray." General Kethmar felt the pulse hit like a hammer to his brain. His vision blurred, and his connection to the flagship wavered. Around him, officers collapsed or staggered in confusion. "What is this weapon?" he demanded, fighting through the pain. How did they know? But the humans didn't stop with one trick. Colonel Emma Watson led Marine boarding teams using teleport pods developed from modified alien technology. Her soldiers materialized inside crippled Zenkari ships, fighting hand-to-hand in narrow corridors. "Secure the bridge," Emma commanded, leading her team through smoke and sparks. Humans fought with a desperation the Zenkari had never encountered. Every soldier knew what was at stake. Outside, the human flagship USS Indomitable moved toward the enemy command vessel. Admiral Fox intended to cut off the head of the snake. "Bring us alongside," she ordered. "All batteries, maximum intensity." 3 super battleship's weapons fired in sequence. Railgun slugs traveling at tremendous speeds tore through armor. Plasma cannons melted hull sections. The space between the two vessels became a hellscape of light and destruction. Jennifer Park, humanity's psychological warfare specialist, broadcast a message throughout the battle. "Surrender now. Your empire dies today, but you don't have to. Die with it." Some Zenkari ships began to waver. The neural disruptor had weakened their resolve, and the human adaptation shocked them. A few destroyers stopped firing, their crews paralyzed by doubt. Zethkron, recovered from his wounds and leading a secondary fleet, pushed through the chaos. His personal flagship charged toward the Defender, weapons hot for revenge. "Lawson!" His voice boomed over Zenkari frequencies. "Face me, human coward." Eric accepted the challenge. "All power to forward shields, collision course." Both ships accelerated toward each other in a deadly game of space chicken. At the last moment, Defender executed a perfect spin that brought its main battery in line with the enemy flagship's bridge. "Fire!" Eric commanded. The concentrated fire drilled through Zenkari's shields and armor. The enemy bridge exploded in flames, taking Zethkron with it. His final act was silenced before he could complete his curse against humanity. The Zenkari armada, struck by neural disruption, superior tactics, and psychological warfare, began to break. Ships fled in all directions. Some tried to reach light speed but collided with their own kind in panic. Others surrendered following Park's broadcast promising fair treatment over certain death. Admiral Fox received reports from across the battlefield. 80% of their fleet destroyed or surrendered, sir. The remaining ships are retreating in disorder. The greatest space battle in galactic history ended not with a final exchange of fire, but with the collapse of Zenkari confidence. Their empire's aura of invincibility shattered along with their ships. In the aftermath, human vessels patrolled the debris field, rescuing survivors and securing surrendered ships. Medical teams worked on both human and alien wounded without discrimination. Victory came at a price. Earth had lost hundreds of ships and thousands of brave souls. The USS Swift, the USS Guardian, and dozens of other vessels would never return home. But the defensive grid had held. Earth remained free. News of the battle spread faster than light could travel. Within days, rebellions erupted across the Zenkari Empire. The Peltar declared independence. The Krill cut communication networks the Empire relied on. The Drex formed their own defense pact. Species that had suffered for centuries saw their chance for freedom. The Zenkari Council, learning of their defeat, faced immediate crisis. Their empire, built on fear and projection of strength, crumbled as subject species rose up everywhere. Within weeks, the mighty empire that had threatened Earth existed only in history. 3 months after the battle, Ambassador Patricia King stood before a gathering of over 100 alien species at the newly established Galactic Assembly on neutral ground. Representatives from across the stars had come to understand this new power called humanity. "We are not conquerors," Patricia declared. "We are defenders. We fought not for empire, but for freedom, ours and yours. We hope never to fight again, but if threatened, if attacked, if any species tries to force submission through fear and violence, know this: humanity does not negotiate with killers." The assembly listened in respectful silence. The Peltar ambassador stood to speak next. "The humans have shown us that empires fall, but courage endures. We pledge friendship with Earth and support for any who choose freedom over tyranny." Other species echoed similar sentiments. The Krevik offered technology exchanges. The Dormani spoke of joint research projects. Even species that had remained neutral during the war now sought friendly relations. Back on Earth, celebrations filled the streets. Children played with toy spaceships, reenacting the battle. Scientists worked on peaceful applications of war technologies. The economy boomed as new trade routes opened with grateful species. Dr. Blake received the highest honor Earth could bestow for his work on the neural disruptor. In his acceptance speech, he reminded everyone, "Science can defend as well as attack. We must always remember the greatest weapon is knowledge combined with courage." Captain Lawson retired from active service but remained in the Defender, as she was converted to a museum ship. Children from across Earth visited to hear stories of the battle that saved their world. "We were scared," he would tell them honestly, "but we fought anyway, because that's what humans do when protecting our home." In the years that followed, humanity expanded among the stars not as conquerors, but as partners. The former Zenkari Empire split into dozens of independent states, most choosing democracy over dictatorship. Humanity helped these new nations rebuild, gaining loyal allies throughout the galaxy.